That's
Bro, I feel like if
crazy.
you're into plants, you'll look at it and go like, this is so 101. If I level it up a little bit, I'll definitely share it.
Well, I don't know anything about plants, so it would be good for me to see and for everyone on the CU team to see.
All right, well, I'll look back at it. I made it as the last move, so
Yeah,
I
look
don't know
at
how
Ben
up to date it is.
showing his plants right there.
Oh, Ben, look at that collection.
Oh wow.
I like the vine.
Yeah, you gotta get a Monstera. Monstera is the ultimate plant because it's look. We have such a. I don't know how to like. I'm on my phone. How do I turn it around?
Madhav has his plant too.
Oh, we got both Bens showing off plants.
Oh my god.
Dude, that's a full collection.
So many.
I'm also hair farming.
Are you telling me that it's a very, very plant-based people? Okay, people invented just great planters, I think. Okay, so like we have this game called like We're Not Really Strangers, and like they'll have this question, and I would ask like, okay, according to your opinion, like for me, what would the plants be? Like, would it die or thrive under my? And everyone says dies, and I'm like concerned greatly that that's how they. It's like, wow. So I love it when I see people can like make plants thrive. It's actually amazing. I actually have a fake plant in my room, and it looks beautiful. Yeah.
Big plants get the job done.
What?
They look
Do you know
good.
the Dimitri Martin joke about like he had a cactus but then it died and he was like, "Damn, this means I'm like less nurturing than the desert." Yeah, I've killed a few succulents because you overwater them. Here's the big thing about plants is that overwatering refers to frequency and not amount. So it's okay to water plants too much if you do it infrequently. Like they gulp it up, they'll drink as much as possible. But if you overwater them, that refers to like watering it too often, not too much. So
Yeah, that's the balance that I'm trying to hit right now. Is that I thought being in Denver, it's so dry here that I should be watering a lot, and I was realizing my plants were looking a little droopy, so I'm dialing it back.
And don't different plants have to be watered at different frequencies and with different amounts?
That's what the Notion doc is about, so I can track them all and figure out what they like.
Ale is in the outdoors. Has lots of plants around her.
Yeah, as soon as there's sun, I'm outside. Like every time.
Yeah, you have to, especially after a cold winter in Philly and in New York. All right, I think that we're about ready to get started. I'm actually going to start with an introduction because I'm relatively new here. My name is Madison. I'm based in New York City, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Dream DAO, where we train to do good in the world. And I started coming to library calls, I think, about a month ago, and this will be my first time facilitating a session. And there's a great moderator, Colton, and topic for my first time. I'm very excited for you all to hear from Colton and for us to jam on Gitcoin's Metaverse projects. And so just some housekeeping things before we get started. I'm sure most of you have heard this before, but the call is being recorded later. And there's also a thread that Lynn created, tag you for the discussion, and you can share articles, thoughts, and just chat with one another on the topic. And for our roadmap today, we won't just have Colton. We also are going to be having Gary. He's going to be talking for the first 5 to 7 minutes about the Regenerative Web 3 documentary we had a discussion about a few weeks ago. And then after that, we'll have Colton come to discuss Gitcoin's Metaverse projects. And so does anyone have any questions, thoughts, anything before we let Gary get started? Okay, very cool. Gary, so we're in the same room. So how do you want to do this? You want me to just stay unmuted for you? Or?
Did you create a thread yet?
Yes. It's April 13th. I'll tag you on it.
Yeah. I'm like trying to tag everybody, so I'll like make sure everything get it.
Can you all hear Gary all right? Yes? Okay. I saw a thumbs up. Okay, awesome. We're good.
Yeah. So, well, like a few weeks in Web3 just feels like a year. It's it's a lot, and it's amazing. It's all the things. It's like a requires like masterful balancing of everything that you need to flourish and stay sane and all that. But overall, yeah, ultimately it's been really just awesome to have gone from, I would say, one of the first initial jams on the storytelling around regenerative Web3 was in a Gitcoin public goods library call. It was super invigorating, and got some updates and got some just like, yeah, we have a document that we'd love for open sort of feedback on, but we're still in the phase where we haven't shot a single minute of footage. We probably won't until. Oh, what do you think? I don't know. I would probably guess like
there's a roadmap on there.
Yeah,
it'll be a while though.
But yeah. Like, probably won't until summer. So we want to do this the right way. I think we've updated the whole framing of this to be less like almost reactive to like trying to convince like skeptical senator or something like that. To like, let's create. Just think of a documentary, or think of a documentary that changed your life in a really meaningful way. Changed how you saw the world in a really meaningful way. I think both for me and Madison, documentaries like Game Changers and Food Inc., Seaspiracy and Cowspiracy, these documentaries were completely paradigm shifting for myself, for me, and it's why I'm vegan or plant-based, however you want to call it. I think there's like I guess, the gulf between what is happening already in this early days of Web3 and regenerative Web3, almost like nothing like what you hear if you just read, I don't know, maybe New York Times, if you just read like almost any sort of mainstream media outlet, right? And it's interesting the kind of people that are kind of featured as representatives of Web3, and most people don't even know that there's a regenerative side, period. I was talking to a kind of emerging like mentor type figure to me, Wendy from Internet Archive, and she was talking about how she just a few months ago, she hosted an info session about Web3, and like a tweet, and she's like forever traumatized by the fact that a quote tweet of her tweet announcing that info session, like 500 retweets, like or something like that, or 500 likes, 500 retweets, and that's going to keep happening if professional critics of Web3 are the primary way that anyone understands the spirit of Web3. There's a lot to figure out through this documentary, and we're very open to just ideas of like, okay, who is like, what project, what person bodies, right? It would be like a very inspiring person to dive deep in on. If it's not for this particular feature film, like it could be for a future short or whatever. Overall, I guess, yes, we are looking for feedback. Madison's been very helpful with all this. But I think what we want to do is just say like, hey, this is a ongoing mission that we are very committed to sticking to. This is very much in line with just our original impetus, just to like, that education is so important for realizing a better future. Part of education is like, having a moonshot of having a documentary that can be seen by tens of millions of people. instead of just like trying to optimize for us getting like tweet threads that have good vibes. You know what I mean? So we're thinking really big with this. And even though this idea has shifted a bit since the last time we brought up the idea of a documentary, Gitcoin is, glad to say Scott is a huge supporter of this, and we're working on details of what it looks like going to be the main launch partner this one once it actually gets going. Is there anything you want to add, Madison? Because you've been such a big part of
Yeah, so if I had to summarize like a one liner of what this is, it's a documentary that shows the mainstream audience that Web3 can be used to make the world a better place. And it's going to be done in a very human way. So instead of focusing on like what is the blockchain, what is an NFT, like technical definitions, it's going to be told through relatable, inspiring human stories. And so we have two example archetypes in there. One of them is Ale, one of them is Tim from DreamDAO, who is currently living in Russia and is our governance working group coordinator. And I would say the point of that is we want to show, not tell the power of Web3.
Can I turn on my audio? Let me turn on my audio because Otto said it is a little bit shaky.
Oh, okay. Okay.
All right. Can you hear her better now? No. I mean, just you can whatever.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you were coming through fine either way there.
Yes, so essentially the purpose of the different archetypes is to show, not tell the power of Web3. So not just convincing people through high level or technical or philosophical arguments, but to show that these are people who are using Web3 to make the world a better place. And these are the ways in which it has changed their lives as individuals. And so, yeah, and I think that's all captured in the document too. So, of course, we'd love to hear anyone's thoughts that they have.
That's beautiful. Actually, the sound was better before whatever you just changed it. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
All right, we can hear
we could hear you. I mean, I could hear you. I could understand what you said, but it was clear the first time.
Okay.
But that's really beautiful. Thank you.
Cool. Great. I'm gonna read Sarah's comment. I'm burdened from social dilemma. Oh, did you work on that, Sarah?
Actually, no, I did not. Just to clarify, no, they I met them at Sundance in like 2019 when I was at NVIDIA. I love documentaries as kind of ways, like stories of SEO for the mind, right? To me, that's just a more compelling way of understanding and getting excited about an idea. The only thing I was saying is they pitched that documentary to every single foundation at the time. But I think, and the team who worked on it are amazing in lots of ways. But I think feedback they heard from a lot of people is to make sure the figureheads are diverse. They didn't do that, and I think the documentary was kind of weaker for it. But also, like, everybody was like, "There's no hopeful message here." Like, I get you're talking about how Web2 sucks our attention, but where's the future? So I feel like what I like about the talk is it is the future, right? It's a natural pair for like, okay, let's be hopeful. Let's share some real stories of what's happening right now. I think that's so exciting and important. Like people want hope, right? That's why I think all of us are here is we want to show people that are not involved in Web3 a side of Web3 I don't think people see. I have a lot of friends in that crypto camp, but in the crypto skeptic camp, and I think this will help all of us that have a lot of friends like that to kind of convert them and bring them over.
Yeah, I would love for this to be the documentary that I can share with friends and family because right now there really is nothing.
There isn't. And no one's gonna watch a technical like bullet point explanation. Well, here's why the critics are wrong. But no, it's like it has to be like, okay, I need to just like. I think a lot of people will just be like, okay, wow, there's more to this than I thought. And then like a few weeks from then, they're like, all right, time to join a DAO, right? But it's like we're thinking about like how does this we need an ecosystem of basically green pilling content, right, and content creators. And the point is that this launches, so like to get early access to watch this film, you you buy basically membership in this like storytelling engine DAO, right? Where TikToks and YouTube videos and children's books and shorts and essays are written about just the amazing things that are happening in the space. There's kind of like, yeah, I think it's, in some ways kind of self-explanatory, the value of that, and the kind of beauty of this sort of model is that like if you like the content that is produced, you're like, oh, what was the mechanisms that allowed these things to be funded? It's like, oh, Web3 is actually useful for being for patronizing the arts, right? For patronizing stories that help you see the world more clearly. So like the kind of meta story around the story of this documentary is just as inspiring and interesting. So it's interesting, right? Like I talk to people that are very skeptical, like still very on the fence of Web3 or very skeptical, and then like they talk about how like Gitcoin is like one of the only one of the only communities that they're like, but I do think about Gitcoin, and it's like there's good vibes there and like really good people there. Like, yep, like so we need to find the right people to launch this with.
So I do want to leave enough time for Colton's amazing session that I've taken a look at. I know it's going to be great. So does anyone have, is there like any last thoughts or comments before we move on to that?
How can folks get involved if they want to support you on their project?
Great. So I think this just hanging out in this, yeah, you'll notice it doesn't say it's not, the title of this Telegram group is not documentary. It's I realized what we're trying to create is like a community of people that recognize that storytelling is just so important around what we're doing, and I will not hesitate to ask for help when it's needed. And then also working with Scott on creating a proposal. Like we're figuring out exactly the right method to go about this, but it's either going to be a proposal to the Gitcoin DAO or public goods library. Sorry, public goods workstream to get like some basic amount of seed funding so we can film like a first scene or something, and then like use that scene to then raise money from people that wanted to see it before they funded it. You know what I mean?
Okay, great.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Thank you, Gary, for coming, and thank you all in advance for leaving comments on that doc as well.
Cool.
All right. Okay, can you all hear me? Oh, you need to turn on your volume.
A little echo.
Okay, great. So now to introduce Colton. Colton's an amazing human being. I'm sure many of you already know that and know him. We actually met last night on a Zoom call just to prep for this, and he was rock climbing. So he's a rock climbing superstar. And I sent him my list of vegan recipes, and he'll be making the fettuccine alfredo on there for his housemates. So I'm excited to see that. But aside from that, he is an incredible artist and creative director with Gitcoin DAO. And before that, he was a character artist on Spider-Man. And I'll drop his portfolio in the thread so you all can see all of his amazing work. I know I really enjoyed looking at it. So Colton, without further ado, feel free to mention anything I missed and introduce us to the session today, your objectives and such.
Yeah, well, the first clarification I need to make is that I think I have rock climbed a total of 6 times. So I'm certainly not a superstar by any metric, but I am having super fun. So I will speed through these slides because most of today is going to be activity based. And I am really excited to just get some perspectives from this whole group. So yeah, as Madison had mentioned, artist and creative director in the Gitcoin ecosystem. Started my career as a character artist in Spider-Man. Met a lot of really talented people there and learned a lot about game development. But ultimately, my heart was not in it, and it was not the way that I wanted to have impact on the world. So about a year ago, I said goodbye to Sony. And after stumbling around the NFT space for a little while, I met Kevin Owaki and dove in on the Greatest LARP fundraiser. So this was the second Gitcoin comic that came out. And for me, it was the first experience where I got to create art that told these meaningful stories, and it raised money that went to fund projects that I thought were really, really important. And this was a huge, huge unlock for me personally and professionally. So where does this bring us to this point? Moonshot Bots came out last August, and that raised about $3 million for Gitcoin. It was a really big success. And a few months later, the Greatest LARP followed up, raised $500,000, brought a lot of great solar punk regen people into the space. And at this point, so I work closely with the comic team, and right now we're planning to do 3 more comics a year. And we want to have an auction along with each one of those. It's a way to dive deeper into the stories. It's a way to explore what it means to be green pilled, how we could build a solar punk vision together. It's a terrific way to raise funds for Gitcoin. But 3 comics a year, 3 auctions a year, we need to have some way of tying these things together. We can't just keep doing these disparate NFT campaigns. So how do we connect them? Enter the regen score. So the regen score is this basic gamification mechanic for unifying all of these NFT projects. The regen score tracks your participation across the Gitcoin NFT campaigns. It's a point system, and it's a building block for the future gamification that we build into. You may be going, these sound really general. That is on purpose. I want to leave this as simple as possible because, well, we actually have a lot of pieces sort of in play already and some ideas that I'm really excited about. I want to see where this group can take the regen score idea. And we'll get back to that very soon. All right, so we have this regen score. Now what? So as soon as you have a game that you're playing, one of the first things that we want is an avatar to represent ourselves. So the next Gitcoin drop will be full-scale 10,000 PFP. It will probably be based somewhat on the Moonshot Bot aesthetic because that has been a really successful representative of Gitcoin, and people just love them because they're super cute. This will be an excellent opportunity for us to raise money for Gitcoin. We can attract more regions to the Gitcoin ecosystem, and we can build our solarpunk community. There's one point that I want to just stick on here for a moment, which is if you step into the shoes of somebody who is brand new to Web3, and for a lot of us, that actually might be very recent. A lot of people are coming into this space without IRL friends that are crypto native. And they are probably, like I was, trying to make a quick buck, but they're also trying to make some friends. They're trying to figure out what the heck is going on here. And a lot of them stumble across, the Lazy Lions project or the Hangry Hippos or insert some other animal here. And they see more than just a JPEG, they see a promise of community. And what tends to happen is that that's an empty promise. It's an empty Discord, or maybe it's a packed Discord with a single general channel where people are just throwing GM around and there's scammers running around. And that's not the type of introduction that we want people to have in Web3. I see a solar punk sized hole in the NFT ecosystem right now. And I think that Gitcoin is very, very well established and ready to create the onboarding ramp for people to jump into NFTs, but the regen side of NFTs, and to be introduced to Gitcoin and this collaborative, amazing community that we're building right now. So that's what I'm hoping to do with this project. All right, so last point to just jump on here is what makes this different from last Gitcoin campaigns. First of all, it is the full-scale project. There are only 203 Moonshot bots out there right now. and there's basically no liquidity. They're like very, very expensive to get. The other piece is utility. There's been no utility with the past Gitcoin NFTs, and I think we have a lot of potential to build that in. And the third piece is you're going to help decide what makes us different. Because as we were starting to build this, we realized that we already, unlike a lot of other NFT groups, we already have an amazing community of builders and people with great perspectives, and we should bring this to all of you. So I will also preface this and say, obviously there are constraints with what we can build, and some ideas will be mutually exclusive. But for this activity, I want us to really just brainstorm with what could this project be? What could the projects become in the future? And we'll be incorporating as many of these great ideas as possible. So what I'll invite you to do now is there should be a Figma, and I think that was actually shared in the original link. Madison, if you want to jump in with the location for that. This would be a way for us to just jam together on some ideas.
Yep, I just sent it in the thread again. And
Excellent.
yeah, you should once you log into Figma, you should be able to use it.
Perfect. Yeah, so that is one of the little hurdles with Figma is that you'll probably have to log in with your Google account. I see some people pouring in already though. I'll give you guys a second to come in here. We're still good on time.
You want to start screen sharing the Figma so we can see it on here too?
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't realize Discord didn't swap it over. Okay. And actually, so is Figma up now?
I don't see it quite yet. Not sure if other people do.
Let's see. It
says I'm having some network problems, so maybe it's just me that can't see the screen. See it?
Does anybody else want to chime in? Can you guys see my Figma screen right now?
It's like there's just yeah, no, I can see you're dropping a post-it note screen.
Yeah, good to see it. Good.
Okay. Can you see the big timer that I just dragged over?
Sorry, I'm on my phone. I'm also on my.
It should be right. No. Okay.
Timer.
Okay. Well, that part is probably. Actually, can I just share the entire screen? There should be a way to do this.
Yep, you should be able to.
Yeah, here we go. Screens, not applications. Boom. Okay. Timer showing up now?
Yep.
Sweet. Okay. We'll get back to that in a minute. All right. So give people a minute to come in here. 101 with Figma. This is Figma Jam. So if you have a mouse, middle click, you can drag around. If you don't have a middle click, you can grab that little hand down on the bottom. You can drag that way. The only other key piece is these sticky notes. You can drag those up, write something on there. That's how you'll be sharing your ideas with all of us. So starting with this section in the middle, this is sort of a way that we can invest our resources in building up this NFT campaign. And what I want to focus on today are just 3 of these sections, which will be the artwork, the perks, and the marketing. Now, if you are, say you're a marketer and you're like, oh my gosh, I really just want to jump in and jam on the marketing section for the next half hour or so, by all means, please do that. Start dropping some interesting stickies down here. Can't wait to check them out. For everybody else, I would say follow along. And what we're going to do is head off in the artwork direction. I've got a little arrow pointing off this way. And what you'll see first is some examples of Bored Apes. So classic sort of NFT design here. They've got a basic avatar and then these accessories on top. And the idea here is to take something like our bots and add some accessories on top. So we could just do the classic stuff. People love the laser eyes. They love the hats, the propellers on them. But I feel like we could add this whole regen angle to them. So one idea that Lucci, who's been working with me on this, one idea he had was a green pill blaster. All the bullets are green pills. Another one, a gold chain, but the It's a blockchain, has a Gitcoin pendant. Some ideas to get you going. And before we dive into this, the other piece I'll add is that I just wrote up a couple of themes that this group tends to talk about. Please add more if you think of them. I think there are probably many, many that we can do. And just consider like how we can take, for example, unlearning, or actually what we could do too is put another one out here. Actual public goods. So something like education. How do we show different public goods like education? Like, is he a teacher? Like, maybe there's a way to show that through accessories. Take this in any direction you want. Those are just some ideas to get started. What I'm going to do is set a 5-minute timer that will be overlaid here. Pull that back up. Shoot, there it is. So the reason I'm setting this timer is that I can't work very well when I have somebody yak in my ear. So feel free to mute us if you want to just really focus head down. And when this 5-minute timer goes off, jump back in and we'll talk about the different ideas that we had, see where that goes. So I will start the timer and I see you guys already jamming. Nice. Yeah, I like how some of these are going in the direction of assets I could actually build and moving away from just my themes. And if people have questions, you can also chime in on any part of this, the art or anything I was talking about before.
So, what else have you been thinking about for character models? Have you been thinking different head shapes, bodies, heights, all that other fun shenanigans? Since it looks like the basic asset right there is just full body even.
Yeah. So the nice thing about robots, I don't know if anybody else ever played with Bionicles, Lego Bionicles
Yes.
when they were a kid. This very much reminded me of that. So, okay, looks like he's
Yeah, no,
got some
that's
attachment coming in here. Yeah, so just separating out like arms, torso, his legs. I was hoping to have a bunch of art to drop today too. The funny thing about designing a PFP is that you basically go from having like nothing to show to having 10,000 things that you can show. And I'm right at that tipping point. If people stay later, actually, I can show you some alpha and drop into ZBrush, show some of the pieces I've been working on. But yeah, I've got quite a few different attachments for him now. They just aren't rendered out yet.
No, that sounds exciting. Just imagining Moloch and Matanui or whatever. But anyways, yeah, that's exciting.
Wow, that was a real Bionicle reference. Nice. Forgot all about Mata Nui.
Yeah. Yeah, I had too many as a kid. But and then other question is backgrounds. You've mentioned like other themes and stuff, but the themes just go into backgrounds as well. Thinking about rendering those out or
Yeah, I'd love to actually hear people's takes on this. So the reason I was avoiding backgrounds was that we're all heading towards this metaverse world, and while these won't be metaverse ready because there is no metaverse to be ready for, if say your one defining trait that your PFP had was the background, and then a metaverse ready version of this gets made, well, the background isn't going to be a part of it, right? Probably, unless you can think of some creative way to do that. So say it's like, you and your friend both have this guy, and the only difference is that one of them is in a jungle and the other one's in a desert. Well, when you just have your characters running around the metaverse, you won't have that one trait, and your characters will look identical. So I was avoiding doing backgrounds for that reason. We might just have like color swaps, but I don't think that should be a defining trait.
that's very fair.
But like I said, there might be some creative ways to do it. Like maybe if he's in a jungle, he has some jungle skin on as well, something like that.
Yeah. Would it be possible to make the background a completely different layer that you could change separate of the individual character? So that way, if you got involved in separate parts of Gitcoin based on your own interests, you could have specific themes you could put in the background of your avatar. Say if you wanted to use it for like your ENS avatar as well.
Nice, dig it. Yeah. Can you write that down on a note, because I actually really like that, and I think that's also going in the direction of expansions here, where and again, like these can all be free, paid, whatever we want to do. But having other unlocks, things that can be airdropped to people. I like using the background as kind of like a board to just showcase the projects you're involved with, the things you care about.
Yeah, I was thinking about like just kind of bridging the first half of this call to the second half of this call. Like the reason why documentaries work over like sending someone an essay is that like someone reads it. If you send someone an essay, they read it in their own voice. Whereas if you send a documentary, it maintains the same tone and voice of the director. Like that's not something that's lost in translation. And so I was just thinking like, yeah, the background is an easy way to like have a low hanging fruit for co-creation to establish their own voice within the narrative itself. So like, I don't know how like doing this is also that, like just however you can make people a part of the story and making their voices like a part of the narrative itself is a major win.
I love that, Ben. Thank you. And that also brought us up on 5 minutes. So that was a good bridge into just kind of chatting about some of the ideas here. I love the heart sticky notes. So what is this one? All accessories are tied to specific public goods like education or sustainability. Well, that is clearly getting some love. The person who wrote that, do you have I love that, and I think that has been kind of a core theme we've wanted to chase. I think the question is like turning those into accessories that can go on a PFP.
Maxwell, do you want to share a few words on that? If not, I'll give a few words. I think it's a very great idea. Like, imagine you complete a quest, and then because the quest is based on, I don't know, the polygon technology, then you unlock the polygon sword for your bot, or you go to a hackathon that is sponsored by Filecoin or whatever, and then you can unlock an accessory for your bot. That would be really great.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, there's more and more that's being done on unlockable content, having NFTs that evolve. Anybody who's working on or following the Ethers Phoenix development, that is a part of this whole project as well. So there's a lot we can do there. These are great. Did anybody else have other ones that they had read that they feel like sharing? Sustainable fashion. Oh man, that makes me think too. I wonder about having things like DAO Punks had their, like when you got a DAO Punk, you also got a one of a kind shirt with your DAO Punk on it. And we could do that same kind of thing, but with like really great sustainable brands. Like people could have clothing to rep in the real world. Attacking Moloch. Yeah, these are great. If people feel like just moving on from here, we can head on to the perk section. And if you want to stay on the art, by all means, you can go for that too. Cool. We've already got some stuff coming up here. Yeah, so this part's pretty self-explanatory. This is what they would call like the utility section. Wrote down some ideas here. We already have the Gitcoin Shelling Point events. So a classic one is to use your NFT as like a ticket to get into after parties or to have some kind of perk at these IRL events. Airdrops, of course, are really popular. If anybody is in cyber brokers right now, people got airdrops yesterday, I think. Great.
Colton, could you explain? Oh, Colton, can you explain the 1 to 3 ratings in this visual here and how those two things relate?
Yeah, so that is, we don't have to actually use this to rate anything this time. I got it from somebody, and I wish I could give them credit. They don't have it on the stock that I pulled up. I'll see if I can find that later. So they had basically made this as a way of tracking how different NFT projects, like what they had done well in. So they had overlaid Bored Apes instead, like, okay, Bored Apes crushed it on marketing, so they got a 3 on marketing. I think they had a 3 on community as well. Their artwork was something like a 1 or a 2, and then basically on the contract side, the website side, those were like 1s or 0s because they just, that wasn't what they had invested their resources in. I just think it's a helpful framework, given that we always have constraints when we're working on any type of a project like this, just to say like, okay, as Gitcoin, do we, like, is there a lot that we want to invest in with the smart contract? Or for the things that we really care about, is it better to focus on the community building, maybe the perks and like the long-term ecosystem that we're building through this? How much time and energy should we put into the artwork? So yeah, we don't need to get into the point thing, but that's basically like how many resources do we want to put into making that amazing? Yeah, I love this increased matching for the next grants round. Yeah, these are great, guys. And again, if you want to jump back to the art or jump onto any other sections here, thinking about how the website can be built. If you're a smart contract dev and you got some brilliant ideas there, I like this aqueduct concept. Feel free
Colton,
to
I'd
move
be interested
around.
in hearing what are your initial thoughts on perks for this?
My initial thoughts, like how we could use these. I think so. The one that I'm probably the most excited about might actually be this voting rights mechanism. And originally, some parts of this project actually grew out of a conversation we were having with FWB, and they had talked about how Gitcoin doesn't really have like we have the comics, we have the NFT campaigns that have come up so far, but if you have an art project, there isn't really like an art ecosystem round that you can go to for funding. So we were thinking about using an NFT ecosystem like this to fund projects like the documentary is actually a really good example of it. Like if this ecosystem is already rolling, I feel like this would be the community that should fund things like that documentary. So if an NFT like this gave you voting rights for saying, yeah, I want to see this amazing regen documentary, and there are other projects like that that you can help fund. I think that's something that I'm really excited about as a creator and as somebody who sees a lot of creators coming into the space right now.
Love that.
Colton, for new people that are just coming into the room, where's the link to this document?
Yeah, I think Madison.
Yeah, I'll send it again in the thread for you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just keep dropping it in there. So it's a link to a Figma. You'll just have to sign in with your Google account. Thanks, Lonnie. Cool. So that was another 5. And anybody have topics here that they want to chat a little bit more about? I think they want to add context for.
I just love. Oh, go ahead, Ali.
We're both outside matching. I was gonna say, when we were looking at the region score, we were focusing on the perks, but is there also like an area where we focus on like how do we increase our region score by being more region?
Yeah, that's a great question. This doesn't really have a dedicated area for gamification. And I guess in my mind, that was all going under this perk section, but I could have made that more clear.
Okay.
Yeah, if you have more thoughts on that, that's a particular piece that I'd really like input on. So yeah, as Ali said, ideas on ways that you can increase your regen score. Is this by like attending real world events? Is it giving to Gitcoin grants round? Are there other public goods DAOs out there like Optimism with the stuff that they're doing with retroactive public goods funding? Are there other things that you can do outside of the Gitcoin ecosystem that can increase your regen score? I think those are really good questions. I'd love to hear people's perspectives on that. Maxwell, you had something to jump in with?
Yeah, I think to kind of build on that, I'm just such a fan of Ben's idea, and I think his idea could really tie some of the accessory stuff of, an accessory could lead to kind of a public good action, whether it's like a tree being planted or, some sort of service happening. And I think that can tie into the gamification component too, where the gamification can lead to more public good actions happening. Like, I keep thinking about the seed example, but like every point or every 10 points could be a seed planted somewhere. I think there's really interesting ways to tie a lot of the off-chain public good stuff to kind of your on-chain regen score as well.
Yeah, that's great. So you're talking about Ben West had written here, regen score tied to IRL regen activities like tree planting or soil habitat restoration. Super cool.
Yeah, I think what would be really amazing on that train of thought is to also bring in prior existing Gitcoin grantees into that process. So to collaborate with people with organizations that are participating in Gitcoin grants to activate those IRL public goods incentives.
Yeah, I love this. It's going to be a big question for the devs on like how they actually track all of this stuff. Like in the past, we've been talking about using POAPs to increase your regen score because a lot of these activities already have POAPs associated with them. But if there are other ideas on ways that we can actually track, especially these IRL events, that would be, the more options, the more we can gamify this.
One area of NFTs that I've always kind of found a little bit lacking, but there's a couple interesting products out there that basically within the NFT, you're wrapping like carbon credits or, Klima, ERC20 tokens into the actual NFT. And so I wonder if like including and embedding some sort of kind of regenerative asset in the underlying NFT might kind of at the minting process, kind of using proceeds to then purchase some sort of carbon credits or some sort of offsets that, and then also entice people to purchase that. I don't know if that I came late to the conversation, so I'm not sure if that's something that was already kind of introduced.
No, not at all. I love that idea. If nobody's written that down, please drop a card with that. So your name was Squelch.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Yeah, and
think-
introducing potentially like royalties. So as you know, these trade, embedding some level of royalties into that, where then you know future purchases of credits can come through, and potentially have these NFTs be evolving NFTs that you know as they suck more carbon from the atmosphere, you know they evolve and trade and into something interesting and cool to show how expansive it's become.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, nice. I had like the dystopian version of that written down on my idea board, which was like having like a beautiful environment that just like gets more and more destroyed as the environment goes away. But I like I
Maybe
like your
swing it
vision.
around slightly.
Maybe it can go in either direction.
That'd be nice.
Cool. So let's hit this marketing section. Just well, we still have a few minutes because I know we've got some brilliant minds in here on the marketing front. So I'm starting the 5-minute timer again. I think, yeah, anything from like if you have connections that you think would be really good, like that solar punk influencer, and you want to hit them up, that would be a great place to drop an idea. Yeah, I want to see what you guys what you have in mind for this marketing. One other piece that I'll just mention here is that I don't follow. This is something I need to dive into a little bit more, but there's sort of the NFT meta is constantly changing. So this is like almost the multi-level marketing schemes that people are going to use to try to get your friends into the projects that you're interested in. And if anybody else is like deep into NFTs and has some insights there on how we can just basically do what other NFT projects are doing to pop off, that's going to be critical. Nice.
Yes, Ben West.
Gotta add lots of hearts. The extra good comments. Yeah, something I'm really interested in is this whole scarcity in terms of NFTs. Because obviously scarcity drives success and demand, but what does it look like to have like a regen NFT collection? How does scarcity play into that?
Yeah, before I take a stab at that, does anybody else want to chime in? I think it's a really, really important question. Somebody just come off mute. All right, I'll jump in with that. So yeah, I think that's kind of an open question right now. Currently, it's actually, I think we're looking at doing more than 10,000, maybe like 15,000, because as pointed out here, we're already at 20 or 30,000 members in Gitcoin. part of me is looking at this as like a moment to bootstrap, because if we can really lean into this as a moment to capture some of the value that's just flying around in NFTs and then direct that towards important projects, I see that as an overall win for the ecosystem. So even if we're leaning into scarcity a bit there, I feel like long term that's probably the right play. Clearly, as we are hoping like more and more people come into this, there are 8 billion people out there. A 10,000 PFP is just not going to be enough. I mean, we really want everyone to have a regen NFT, right? You want everyone to have an avatar, digital avatar that is in this regen vibe. So the way that'll probably be done over time is through sets. And if you're on the collector side, you always just want like the lowest number set possible. It's like having like the OG Pokemon cards from the original 150. Yeah, so those are just kind of some of the ways that I'm thinking about it. But I feel like in crypto, as with all things in Web3, there are some really creative ways that we could approach this. So if you have some regen ideas, let me know.
What if this was, and this is kind of maybe a little bit bold, but what if this project was only available to people who have contributed to Gitcoin grants? So it's like a retroactive, a retroactive, not funding, but, retroactively rewarding folks for participating in Gitcoin grants. And that it's a seasonal project that's released after each Gitcoin grants round. So if you've participated in Gitcoin grants, then you are on the whitelist to participate in this as an incentivization for participating in Gitcoin grants in the first place.
Yeah, I love it, Lonnie. I think that's, potentially we can just whitelist people who have done things or contributed to Gitcoin grants in the past. Maybe we make it exclusive to them. If this really pops off and there really are 30,000 active members in Gitcoin, then even just whitelisting people who have given to Gitcoin grants in the past, we might not have enough for that. So yeah, you've brought up some good questions, like how many of these do we really want to offer and how do we offer them to people? So those 5 minutes are over and we're coming up on the hour. Somebody want to jump in?
Well, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. I was gonna quickly say that maybe we could aim. This is more complicated, but maybe there's a way to tie scarcity with an actual scarce resource that we are regenerating, because it's no longer like false or digital scarcity. But that's that's harder to actually achieve. But just an idea.
That's cool. So that's kind of building on like wrapping carbon credits or some other, maybe not carbon credits, but an actual scarce resource into these. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
Cool.
the other thing I was going to add is that I think like I'm really curious about this scarcity dynamic also, but how when it's articulated over time, you can like accomplish the same scarcity. So like if you're releasing more of them, but like not all at once. So either in series or like in sort of like a slower drip, so that over time, like more people have access, but that you still maintain that, excitement about it only being available, in a limited quantity.
One interesting project that I is what Moss has done with the green wall in the Amazon, where they're basically like purchasing land rights around the Amazon to basically protect it, and you can purchase an NFT that represents your ownership in land. It's ambitious and maybe not kind of coinciding with this, but is an idea or a concept to potentially pursue around that scarcity element that's also regenerative.
That's really cool. Reef DAO recently reached out to me, and they're doing the same thing with the reef around Australia, I think it is. So you said it was Moss. It's not a Web3 thing.
Well, it's yeah. So they're also bringing over their carbon credits as well.
Okay.
But yeah, basically it's just ownership of land represented in the form of an NFT, and supposedly there's like actual legal rights associated with that land ownership too. It's really kind of cool.
Fascinating. So we're right on 10 o'clock right now. So I know some people may have to bounce to other things. I think DAO Vibes is probably starting up. But I'm going to hang around here for a while and we can talk about the ideas that were just jotted down here and anywhere else we want to take the conversation. Madison, anything you want to add to that?
I'm
So
gonna
did you
drop
guys?
as well. I just want to
Sounds
say
good.
thanks for the session, Colton Medicine. Really awesome. Probably want to add one thing before I drop, which is something to the effect of adding the utility of cartography. So I know Gail is working on this DAO cartography project. So is QZ, and it probably is a good one. Kind of thinking about a meta lens on NFT and how do you maybe award things like these NFTs to DAO cartographers or people who are doing region work who may or may not know about it, but then suddenly see this gift landed on, onto them and understand the purpose of it.
That's amazing. I'm gonna need to talk to you guys for more context there because my artist brain can't quite comprehend the full scope of that. But I am on that note dropping a Telegram link into this week's chat, and if people want to continue the conversation there, yeah, join in.